Over 1,400 million rupees saved through curtailing the expenses of the president.
අවමංගලයට දෙන මල් වඩමිනුත් ගසාකාපු යුගයක් අපි අවසන් කළා කියන එක විශේෂයෙන්ම සඳහන් කරන්නට ඕනේ.
අවමංගල අවස්ථාවන් සඳහා ශෝකය පළ කිරීම වෙනුවෙන් 2014 මිලියන 15යි 2015 ලක්ෂ 3යි 3,63,000යි මිලියන 15ක් එතනින් බේරලා තියෙනවා.
Public in limbo. GMOA decides to call off strike tomorrow.
තමන් දරන තනතුරට උගත්කමට ජේෂ්ඨත්වයට පඩි දීමේදී සැලකිල්ලක් තියෙනවා.
මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂයාට ස්ට්‍රයික් කරේ නැත්තේ. මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂත් එක්ක තිබුණ කුළුපක්කමද නැත්නම් ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂත් තිබුණ බයට.
Former Secretary of Defence appears before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry once again.
Good evening and welcome. This is Primetime News. We are coming to you live and direct from the Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. I am Joel Outscoon. Good evening, Arundhati.
Good evening. I'm Arundhati Mudannaik. Let's start off with a look at your top story this evening. The expenditure heads of 19 institutions, including those of the President and the Prime Minister, were passed in Parliament today.
President Maithripala Sirisena also participated in the debate held today.
This was incidentally the first time that a president of the country participated in the committee stage debate of the appropriation bill and the debate on the president's expenditure heads. President Maithripala Sirisena commented on his overseas visits.
අපේ ප්‍රතිපත්තිය අපේ වැඩපිළිවෙල
Honorable Speaker, when comparing the status of the nation over the decades with our policy, our program and our vision, it can be noted that we have been accepted internationally as an honest friend of all nations and organizations and a country that does not have any enemy camps, any states or any international organizations. In the past, there was a negative impression for a state leader of Sri Lanka to meet with the leader of Great Britain, Canada, Australia in order to chair the Commonwealth. However, when I attended the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, within a matter of hours, I was able to meet with the heads of states of all three nations and build strong relations with them. When I met with the British Prime Minister, the UK assured it will support moves to help Sri Lanka regain GSP Plus and remove the EU ban on Sri Lankan fisheries products. The British Prime Minister also made it clear that a fund of over £6 billion will be given to Sri Lanka and also support the nation.
විශේෂ බිලියන් 6ක අරමුදලක් තුල අපිට ආධාර කිරීමට ඒ සඳහා අවශ්‍ය සහයෝගය ලබා දෙනවායි කියන එක.
The President made a request from Parliament.
විපක්ෂයේ විදියට පෙනී සිටින සියලුම ගරු සහෝදර
I request the MPs who are representing the opposition to provide their blessings and support for the process that we are undertaking as a nation. In the future, we hope to pass a new constitution in order to remove the powers of the presidency and also to strengthen Parliament. I personally believe that all of the president's powers must be transferred to Parliament. I respectfully request the support of each and every one of you for the future process of that.
The President also commented on the steps taken to prevent corruption and waste.
I did not obtain a Sri Lankan airline and engage in visits, and I did not keep the airlines in the hangars when I made visits. However, we are aware of the reports, which is no secret. The Sri Lankan airline can accommodate 280 persons. 280 persons were included into the plane, and the plane was kept for days at foreign nations. We need to be sad over the adverse impact on the country's economy. Then we come to the use of helicopters. Before the elections, I announced that except for official visits, my wife or my children will not be allowed to travel separately. That is the truth even to date. The staff of 1,700 at the Presidential Secretariat has been cut down to 600 or 700. The staff members who were involved in the process of expressing condolences for the funeral too have extorted money. They have smuggled money from the wreath as well. We changed that situation. I will not blame the former president for that. This happened because when managing the staff for these processes, they have not been monitored. I must note that we have brought an end to an era where unlawful profits were made from a simple wreath.
The JVP praised the President for making an appearance in Parliament today.
We did not have this experience over the years. When the expenditure heads of the President is being delivered, the President has arrived and commented on it. That needs to be appreciated. I consider this as a victory where the executive presidency, which was unreachable before the 8th of January, is being vested with the Parliament.
මොකද ඒක ජනතාවගේ ජයග්‍රහණයක් ඇත්තටම.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe addressing Parliament elaborated on the expenditure heads relating to the President.
අපේ മന്ത്രിතුමන්ලට වැඩ කටයුතු කරන්න අපි තව පහසුකම් ලබා දෙන්න ඕනේ.
In order for the parliamentarians to do more, we need to provide them with more facilities and more funding. We will provide the funding without obtaining money from anywhere. Let me read out the expenditure heads of the Presidential Secretariat for the years 2014 and 15. In 2014, 335 million was allocated for festivities and meetings. In 2015, only 34 million has been allocated for festivities and meetings. The difference is 301 million rupees. In 2014, 15 million rupees was allocated to express the condolences for funerals. For 2015, only 363,000 rupees has been allocated. You can understand the difference in that. We have saved 19 million rupees in water bills and another 136 million rupees in the electricity bills, while another 232 million rupees was saved in the purchasing of office supplies. 24 million rupees was saved in telephone bills. 732 million rupees was used for miscellaneous expenses for the year 2014. What are these miscellaneous expenses? Look at what he has done. He has reduced it to 22 million rupees. 710 million rupees has been saved. 35 million rupees was reduced in building maintenance. Therefore, it stands at 1,476 million rupees. 5 buildings that were rented were returned in 2015. 2 VIP Airbus cabins were purchased. The seating for 150 persons were removed and separate rooms were made for him. We returned it and requested for a different one for that money. This is the difference. Not only were the powers curtailed, the expenses were also cut down. By the end of 2014, the number of vehicles used by the President in his fleet were 553. In 2015, the number of vehicles in the fleet is 223. 330 vehicles were removed from the fleet. The fleet of the Presidential Secretariat comprised of 154 vehicles. Now, there are only 116 vehicles in the fleet. 38 vehicles were removed from the fleet. 103 vehicles were rented. Zero number of vehicles were rented for the year 2015. 371 vehicles were removed. He only has 333. If you are against it, please speak now so we can give the money back to the President. Give us an open-ended answer.
On to a developing story this evening, Secretary of the Government Medical Officers Association, Dr. Nalin Herat, says that the island-wide strike which they commenced will be called off at 8 tomorrow morning.
Dr. Herat said that this decision was taken as they are scheduled to hold talks with the President at 10 a.m. tomorrow.
Doctors along with 18 trade unions commenced a token strike at 8 this morning. The strike was launched in protest against the basic salary of state employees not being amended through the budget, abolition of the pension fund and the slashing of concessions granted to state employees. However, it was the general public who arrived at hospitals to receive treatment who had to pay the price for the strike. Long queues were seen at the National Hospital in Colombo due to the services that the clinical and outdoor patient departments coming to a standstill. Director of the National Hospital, Dr. Anil Singh, said the emergency services and the intensive care units were in operation.
It is the innocent patients who fall in trouble.
People travel from Jaffna since 2 in the morning and languish here while the politicians live in comfort.
Doctors of the emergency services and physiotherapy units of the Colombo South Teaching Hospital had reported to work.
Doctors must treat the public with their medication and resolve their issues with the government.
Patients voiced their displeasure over the standstill in treatment for kidney patients at the Anuradhapura Teaching Hospital.
We have been here in hunger since yesterday. We had to get into debt to come here and get medication, but the doctors have shown us no regard whatsoever. After coming here, it turns out that they are not providing medication, tickets, nor a date.
The strike action was also in effect at the Polonnaru General Hospital and Hinguragoda District Hospital today. Only the emergency services unit was in operation at the Colombo North Teaching Hospital today.
They are saying that they will treat only dog bites and they would not provide medication for us.
Every other service apart from the emergency services unit at the Hammantara General Hospital were affected by the strike. Medication was not provided at the Karapite Teaching Hospital in Galle owing to the strike action today. The outdoor patients department, medical services and clinical services at the Kandy Teaching Hospital were hampered.
If we had money, we would have bought the medication.
The strike action was not in effect at a few selected hospitals, including the National Cancer Institute in Maharagama.
It is not the allowance that they should be increasing all the time. They should increase the basic salary, which is not happening. What we are saying is that they should show consideration to one's responsibility, post, knowledge and seniority. They are saying that a vehicle permit of 1 million rupees will be given for 10 years. We can earn this 1 million if we go overseas or even more by getting into the gem business in Ratnapura. But this is not our objective. What we want is to safeguard the reputation of the state employee and his profession.
There
is an invisible hand involved in this matter because the former president had asked as to why the Government Medical Officers Association is not resorting to a strike action after these permits were removed. The government was open for talks. But since they resorted to such an action, this matter was not even discussed at the cabinet meeting yesterday. We can, however, give this permit if we slash all the concessions given to the people. Was it because of the loyalty that they had towards Mahinda Rajapaksa or the fear that they had for Gotabaya Rajapaksa that they did not launch strikes for 9 years during 2006 to 2015? Welcome back. Now, also speaking in Parliament today, Opposition Leader R. Sambandhan commented on the prevention of terrorism act and detention centres. During his speech to Parliament, Foreign Minister Mangala Samaravira commented on the inquiry made with regard to secret detention centres.
The government has yet to clarify the number and identity of detainees still held under the Prevention of Terrorism Act and emergency regulations. Reports have continued to suggest that the existence of secret and acknowledged places of detention. These require urgent investigation. 19 people were arrested under the PTA, 12 of them remain in detention, and 14 cases of torture have been reported to us by credible sources since January 2015. So you have acknowledged in the UN that the Prevention of Terrorism Act is a draconian law, is a law which is unacceptable by international standards, and that you will repeal that law. And all these persons who are being held in custody, whatever position they may be in, are persons who are being held under the Prevention of Terrorism Act.
There is a well-known saying that more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. It is time that we all unite despite our ideological differences to act with responsibility towards our citizens and work together to find solutions to the problems that have kept this nation divided for far too long since independence. The Honourable Member of Parliament has also inquired about secret detention centres. As we have mentioned before, there are no secret detention centres in operation in this country under this government. In fact, the Prime Minister has already told the world several times categorically that there are no such centres, but if anyone has any information of such centres, please give it to us. We will ensure that there is an independent investigation into those.
A new Supreme Court judge and acting chairman of the Court of Appeal was sworn in before the President today.
K.T. Chitrasiri was sworn in as a Justice of the Supreme Court at the President's office in the Parliament complex. K.T. Chitrasiri, who served as a judge for the Court of Appeal from 2009, entered the judicial service in 1978. He is a past pupil of Dharmashoga College, Ambalangoda and Royal College, Colombo. Justice Nalin Jalat Pereira took oaths as the acting chairman of the Court of Appeal before President Maithripala Sirisena. Former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa appeared before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry today as well.
Gotabaya Rajapaksa arrived at the Presidential Commission of Inquiry into serious acts of fraud and corruption over the investigations that are taking place on Avantgarde and the transactions of Ratna Arakshak Lanka Limited. Former commanders of the Sri Lankan Navy, Admiral Somatilaka Dissanayake and Admiral Jayantha Kolumbage, appeared before the Commission to provide evidence pertaining to the issues surrounding Ratna Arakshaka Lanka Limited.
I am here as a witness. Evidence was recorded. I will have to come again to provide evidence. There is no end to this. If this government continues for 5 years, this too will take another 5 years.
Gotabaya Rajapaksa spoke to reporters following his exit from the Commission.
My involvement with the incident on Avant-Garde was one that was for the betterment of the country and the government. If they are assuming that fraud took place in this and are attempting to prove that, then it is wrong. The government has earned a revenue through this. In addition, Avant-Garde is a local company.
The matter surrounding Avant-Garde caused a stir at the cabinet media briefing today as well.
For the first 6 days, the income was $525,000. This was thought to be security alone. You can see the profit the government is making. When Avant-Garde was in operation, they reported only 2.5 million. What happened to the remaining 10 million rupees? 2.5 million. We need to investigate what happened to the other 10 million. We need to investigate how much was directed to their international bank accounts. Do you think that the former Secretary of Defense would do nothing if one person was earning 20 million a day? When this matter was taken up in cabinet, Gotabaya Rajapaksa had contacted a number of ministers from the Sri Lanka Freedom Party on the night before the discussion. He had asked them to speak on behalf of Avant-Garde. No, there was no agreement. They were given permission to enter the port. The President's Secretary of Defense was widely criticized for that.
ඒක අමූලික බොරුවක්නේ. ඒගොල්ලෝ අරගෙන තියෙන්නේ පෙන්ෂන් ගේ කට්ටිය. ඒගොල්ලෝ ඔක්කොටම විශ්‍රාම බැටපම් වෙනවා.
Welcome back to the news. Another project aimed at securing a better future for the societies at large, organized by Newsfirst, was launched today.
The campaign Empower the Woman was initiated with the aim of strengthening the women of Sri Lanka.
The Empower the Woman campaign commenced from Amblipitia today following an inauguration ceremony and is organized to strengthen the woman who renders silent service for country, community and family. The campaign organized by Newsfirst, Sirius and Shakti aimed at empowering women with equality and security is carried out together with the assistance of the Sri Lanka Police. Wristbands were distributed as a part of the awareness campaign where women were given the opportunity to raise the issues they face and also put forward proposals. Another phase of the campaign took place at the Bodhi Raja Rama Vihara in Amblipitia with a large participation from the public. We have to gain equality. We have to identify our strengths. We have to identify our skills and we have to know what we are capable of. As an individual, I am proud of my life. When we look at the women in the past in our country, we can witness that they came to that position after overcoming challenges. We believe that we have to protect women, adore, respect and value her. Because most of them say that these days there are modern women. No, that's not the case. Usually it's very rare that we forget our traditional values. A woman is a person who ponders about a problem always. At times like this, institutions such as this and the Sri Lanka Police are there to help. Therefore, we have to commit for the empowerment of women. The campaign from the north commenced from the Urban Council of Point Pedro. The campaign was attended by a number of female and civil organizations and was supported by the police officers and female police officers of the area. There too, they were given the opportunity to raise the issues that they face.
An office of the Ceylon Tea Board was opened at the Customs Export Facilitation Centre today. The event was held under the auspices of the Minister of Plantation Industries, Navin Disanayake. Customs says that the objective of opening the office was to expedite the tea export process.
Through this procedure, we hope to expedite the export of pure Ceylon tea through customs. Normally, I was told that the procedure would take about 72 to 80 hours. Hopefully, by this procedure, we expect to limit that and curtail that to about 2 hours. Also, I have given the tea board strict instructions that refused tea should not be allowed to leave Sri Lanka. The idea of blending pure Ceylon tea with refused tea is not acceptable, and I hope that the tea board and the customs department will take a very strict policy against it, because it's actually harming the brand of pure Ceylon tea.
Welcome back. Here with News First. A symposium on World AIDS Day 2015 was held in Colombo today.
It is the duty of all the healthcare workers to extend their maximum support to achieve the United Nations health targets, so as to reach an ambitious treatment target to help end the HIV epidemic. As the government policymakers, we will take all the relevant measures to reach the targets of 90% of all people living with HIV will know their HIV status. 90% of all people with diagnosed HIV infection will receive sustained antiretroviral therapy, and 90% of all people receiving antiretroviral therapy will have viral suppression by 2020.
On to sports news now. The team led by Tilanga Sumatipala handed in nominations for the elections of Sri Lanka cricket. The nominations were submitted by former SLSC Vice President Mohan De Silva.
Speaking to Sports First, Mohan De Silva said that Tilanga Sumatipala will be contesting the Sri Lanka cricket election for the post of President, while Mohan De Silva is contesting for the post of SLC Secretary for the election, which is scheduled to be held on the 3rd of January. Former President Jayantha Dharmadasa and former Vice President K. Madivanan are contesting for the post of Vice President of Sri Lanka Cricket. Shami De Silva is contesting for the post of Treasurer, and Ravin Vikramaratne is contesting for the post of Assistant Secretary. Three questions came up. One is that I had an involvement over an incident surrounding sports equipment, my involvement with the press, and the other was about my involvement with gambling. So since I am not a director or a journalist with regards to the press issue, they said that there is no problem. Then in relation to the gambling issue, the ICC commenced a fresh investigation 4 years ago. So the ICC sent me a letter saying that there is no issue there either, and that I am free of that charge and free to contest. Then I was the director of a company which brought down sports equipment, and somewhere around December I resigned from this company. Meanwhile, speaking in Kalmune today, Deputy Minister of Sports H.M. Harris expressed his views on the SLC elections. There is various criticism over the Sri Lanka cricket elections, which are scheduled to be held next January, that those who are involved in corruption were given nomination. Actually speaking, there is a procedure that the ministry follows. Only those suitable can submit nominations. Only cricket clubs in Sri Lanka have the responsibility to select good administrators democratically. So the sports minister and I are confident that they will elect good administrators.
And with that we wrap up tonight's edition of Time News. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Arundhati Mudanayaka.
I'm Joel Outskun. Take care and good night.